Hi everybody. Today we're going to talk about section 1-4, the properties of real numbers. You've probably seen most of these before in a pre-algebra course, but this is a good review and it's a good practice for geometry to get used to justifying steps when you do geometric proofs. So, these are the ones that you have to know. I'm going to give you just the property itself and then an example of it, and then we'll let you practice some out of the book. So, if you have that a number plus its negative equals 0, okay, that is called the additive inverse. If you have that a number times 1 divided by that number equals 1, that is the multiplicative inverse. So an example of the additive inverse would be something like 4 plus negative 4 equals 0. That would be the additive inverse. When you take a number, add its negative, its opposite to it, and get 0. The multiplicative number is when you take a number and multiply by its reciprocal. So in other words, if I do 4 times 1, 4 equals 1, that is an example of the multiplicative inverse. The commutative property. Went in a different order here. Sorry about that. I should have kept it uniform. But the commutative property simply says that if you add or multiply, it doesn't matter what order you multiply in. So that's saying that A plus B equals B plus A. And it's also saying that A times B equals B times A. So, for example, whether I do 3 plus 2 or 2 plus 3, you get the same thing. 3 plus 2 is equal to 2 plus 3. If I do 3 times 2, that is equal to 2 times 3. It is the same thing. Okay. So that is your commutative property. Your associative property is the one that says that if you change where the parentheses are in addition, it's not going to change the problem. It's very similar to commutative, except it's going to have more than 2 terms in it. So it says that A plus B, the quantity of A plus B plus C, is equal to A plus the quantity of B plus C. So you can add the A and B terms first, or you can add the B and C terms first, and it's not going to change the problem. Multiplication is the same way. It says that AB, the quantity of AB, times C is equal to A times the quantity of BC. Okay. So again, for example, you can say that the quantity 3 plus 4, sorry about that, plus 5 is equal to 3 plus the quantity of 4 plus 5. Same thing with multiplication. You can say that 3 times 4, that quantity, times 5 is equal to 3 times the quantity of 4 times 5. Okay, feel free to pause and take some of those down. I'm going to go to the next screen and give you more. So, next is the identity property. For identity with addition, all it says is that if you take a number and add 0, the number does not change. For example, 7 plus 0 equals 7. That's the idea behind the identity property, that it's not going to change what you originally had. So for multiplication, what's not going to change is if you multiply it by 1. So A times 1 equals A. For example, 7 times 1 equals 7. the multiplicative property of 0. The multiplicative property of 0 says that if you multiply any number by 0, you will get 0. So a times 0 equals 0. Any number that you want. 4 times 0 equals 0. Okay, that is the multiplicative property of 0. And then we have the additive properties. Again, I'll give you a second if you want to pause and copy those down. Okay, now the last one here. Okay, the additive property of equality and the multiplicative property of equality. All that this says is that if you have two numbers that are equal to each other, and you either add or multiply the same thing to those numbers, they will still be equal. So in other words, if A equals B, then A plus C equals B plus C. This becomes very important when we start solving equations in Algebra 1, that you're able to add the same thing to both sides. For example, if I say that 4 equals 4, then I know that 4 plus 3 equals 4 plus 3. Okay? If I say that x minus 3 equals 7, then I know that x minus 3 plus 3 equals 7 plus 3, because I can add 3 to both sides. And that's where it's important, because these negative 3's end up crossing out, and that's how you solve equations. But we're not quite there yet. The multiplicative property of equality is the exact same thing. Okay? So if you have A equals B, then AC equals BC. So if you have the 3 equals 3, then 3 times 4 equals 3 times 4. Again, for algebra, maybe more importantly here, if you have that 2x equals 6, then you know that 1/2 times 2 times x equals 1/2 times 6. And usually when we go forward, we won't write that as a multiplication by 1/2. We'll write that as division by 2, okay, which is how you're probably used to seeing. So those are the properties that you're going to have to know. Again, you have practice problems in your book under section 1.4. I hope this lesson was helpful, and have a good rest of your day.